Yeah, so thank goodness we got a late start and spent all that time leveling up. God damn it.
Right? Because you were not ready for us to go into that
That was a classic blunder by me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Frostside Chat, our weekly live stream post-session discussion where we talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 34. Not watched that session yet. Please go do that now because there will be spoilers. I am your DM, Eric, and joining me is Valravn's player, Chris.
Hello.
Edmund's player, Raymond.
Hello.
This was definitely the in-between filler episode.
This is the we haven't done like character management and logistics in
we
six
blew
episodes.
Yeah, we blew out a lot of our budget and everything in that sequence, and now we need to just take things back down and
We gotta have an exposition episode.
An exposition episode,
sitting in a room, talking to each other, saying things.
Which I enjoyed. I think we always do those pretty well, and that's fun for me. And I like that we always do a level up as a big, like, okay, what do you do? What do you do? That's always fun.
Yep.
And the magic item thing was a big deal because you had, so it needed a lot of, we just spent a lot of time going through all the shit that had happened in Sunblight, basically. Like
I'm glad I made my list because no one had any real problems with it. No. I was like, all right.
I think they just all collectively assume that you're going to organize this for us. I just figured out.
And honestly, you did a good job. I don't know if you intended this, but there were 5 big magic items, and all of them kind of fit pretty well with the team. Like there were ones that like the Elven Cloak. Nobody but Thimbleweed had any use for that. Like no one else is gonna try to stealth, right? Like that's kind of this ranger thing. The arm is obviously just for Raymond, so that's kind of a given.
That was the only one that I really custom designed for somebody. And it felt good because it ended up being almost like a character arc reward because of all the work you put into Sunblight.
Kind of like your last campaign with George's stuff. Like George's had like items that were like his like specialty things,
signature thing. Yeah. Ray always uses the magic items very well, so I always like making them. It's a symbiotic relationship. Yeah, you make good use of them.
I gotta figure out how to input all that, but
yep,
that's true.
It'll be good.
And then, like you said, the gauntlet has a charisma range attack, which is like, okay, no one else has really high charisma.
So as
the other two were kind of a toss up. I was like, okay, well, either honestly, the crown and the brace of defense could go to either one, to be honest, because they're both kind of frontline, punchers. But I thought Celeste isn't surrounded by enemies as much because she's all hit and run.
That's true.
She runs in, punches, and then runs back.
Yeah.
So that was my logic.
The cloak, the wand of web are, I think, the only ones that are in the book, and then a bunch of the treasure items, like the monetary stuff.
Yeah.
Well, technically, the bracers, all of Valin's stuff is also in the book, but she's not even in Sunblight. I put her there, so that was all stuff that I added. So in the book, you meet her on the way back to 10 Towns. She's just like, "Hey, I'm an important NPC. I got a lot of stuff to tell you." And you're just like, "All right, well, we're gonna make this a little better."
Well, then what's her backstory then in that scenario?
Same thing, but she just hadn't been captured or attacked.
So she's just wandering around and she's happened upon us?
Yep.
That's some bullshit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's a lot of this book was like, that's some bullshit. I'm gonna fix it. That was one of them. So the consequence of that is it put her magic items that she just normally has on her that you might not even know she has. Suddenly I was like, oh, if she's captured, that means they're going to be in the vault of the Dwerger. And then because you're rescuing her, she'll be like, hey, I can give you these magic items. Obviously she wants her spellbook back. So basically I added those two. And then I also turned Zardarok's gauntlet and crown into magic items because I thought that was just a cool thing to do for, just you get to loot. I always like that concept where you get to loot and you've done this too, where the boss does cool things, and then you loot the boss. You're like, oh shit, here's the magic items that I can do these things.
Right, yeah.
And I've established the fact that, Chardalyn stuff is magical and powerful, but also has those interesting drawbacks, so they're kind of like minor cursed items in that way. And then the prototype arm was the one that I custom made. What?
I missed it. Did somebody take the gauntlet?
Chris did, yeah.
Okay.
Because that was the one that was a charisma range attack, and no one else is like charisma based. And I was like, all right, well that's me.
It's literally just Eldritch Blast, basically. Is what I
Yeah.
copied from. If you notice, a lot of my shit is very rarely like completely original. But what I'll do is I'll pick and choose and gather shit from other stuff, and then create something out of that as a baseline.
Yeah.
For mechanics, which 5e is great for that because it's a lot of the stuff's already there.
Exactly.
So to answer your question, no, it was not my intention to have a bunch of items that were designed for everybody except for the prototype arm. That was the only one that I specifically did. Otherwise, I just made the crown and the gauntlet because he had that stuff as part of his like character design. I thought, okay, I'm just gonna. I gave him these. He already had I think he had the Charlatan Blast as an attack, and then I gave him that Psychic Rebuke ability as an additional thing, to kind of help balance him and make him stronger. Although I ended up killing Celeste and downing Prey, so might have got a little bit too strong there, but hey. So I turned those into magic items, and then the Lin stuff.
Split the party.
That's true. Did not expect y'all to have that split party.
I've been wanting to say it, but it's kind of like Celeste's own downfall to have that ability to keep like running and hiding. You know, ran away from all of
by
that.
herself.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
She
got
attacked,
surrounded
she
and
ran
downed.
out, attacked, and then went back.
Yeah,
but that caused her to be by herself when the two guys. Yeah.
That's true. Dangerous.
I don't know if she still would have survived if she had stayed up there because there were plenty of enemies to go around. But you're right.
So enough about Sunblight. Obviously I can't talk too much about the dragon attack because that's still forthcoming. What I spent most of my time prepping this week, I spent a lot of time working out the time details because all of that is actually in the book. It specifically says the dragon takes this many hours to get to this town. It does this much damage in this much time, and then it takes this much time to get to this town. It does this much damage in this much time. It is very meticulously organized in that way.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I can kind of work with this, and then based on the players, I can actually kind of have the dragon track and move, and that becomes this interesting strategy for the players to make these decisions. What I need to realize, though, is you I can't just assume you guys are going to go one area and prep that area. I have to like, oh shit, that's right. You guys could actually just jump ahead several towns and just choose like, oh, maybe we could cut the dragon off at the pass. So I should have worked on prepping Easthaven. Instead, what I did is I spent time prepping Dugan's Hole and Goodmead, thinking you guys would at least initially try to follow the dragon's path to see if you can like catch it or warn people or do whatever. Instead, you guys actually hilariously correctly assumed, oh, this dragon's a lot faster than us. We're never even going to have any success at Dugan's Hole or Goodmead, so we might as well just get up to Easthaven. So it was a good...
Heather did the math and was like, okay, we don't actually save any time by going to Dugan's Hole.
Well, no, you don't, but I had just assumed you guys were going to try to do the hero thing. Like, oh, we should try to go save people. And
well, I think we also all assumed that a jet dragon is faster than our carriage.
Yeah, so maybe I played my hand too much with that, where I was like, this thing is so fast, and went ahead. You guys were like, oh, well, fuck, those places are fucked. So I thought initially it was going to be a shock for you guys to roll up on, I can go ahead and spoil a little bit of that, I guess, to roll up on Dugan's Hole and have it be just literally, like you said, a post-apocalyptic destruction. And I was still going to have things for you to do there, but that would have been, I thought, the big shocking moment. And then you're like, oh man, we gotta roll ahead and try to get ahead of it now, and you'll move through like Goodmead and all that.
That's happened to me before too, where like I have this idea of something that I think is going to surprise you guys, and you're just ahead of me. You're just like, oh, of course, this is going to happen next, so we need to do this.
Yeah.
Like, shit, well, the happen next thing was supposed to be a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you guys just know stories well enough that you know what's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, so funny enough, it was a good move on y'all's part. It was the correct move. It was good for you and bad for me, basically, because it means I had some, I thought, interesting content to throw at you. Mainly for, as I mentioned, post-dragon stuff, and now you're jumping ahead to, current dragon stuff. So now you get to deal with it's still a town in crisis and being destroyed, but the dragon's there now. And I did have important stuff to do in Easthaven, but I didn't have quite the literal stuff prepped. I didn't have maps or anything, for example, so like I wanted to have some of that thrown in there. But I did tease the kind of events that I did have planned, which is going to involve dealing with Ravison again and trying to figure out
Right.
what's going on in East Haven. So, in other words, I did assume you guys were going to East Haven at some point. I
Right.
did have that planned. I just didn't specifically have events, dialogue, all that stuff prepped for East Haven yet.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is at one point Reese was like, "Oh, we should, we go to Dugan's Hole and we do that first." And I was thinking like, "Okay, yes, we're back on." And then Heather was like, "No, we need to go here because this is the more prepper way." And I was like, "Shit, we're back off." So you can probably watch my emotions play out during this discussion.
I mean,
like,
that's one of those moments where it's like, it's very much. I love those moments where it's like players debating amongst themselves. Like, what is the right choice here? Like,
which is nice.
Do?
I do like to give that option to the player. I mean, it's always hard. Especially on Roll20, because you have to have all this extra, physical, visual prep work, and it's not physical, but but you do like to give that sense of the players are making choices, and then the DM is having to react to those, versus the DM just throwing linear things at you. It's the definition of railroading. So I appreciate that this was a case of no, we don't want to go to. We can just go to East Haven and try to get ahead of it, and that's a fair choice, and you totally would do that and did do that. The unfortunate part is we're playing on Roll20 and I didn't have any things prepped for that moment. So thankfully we ended up taking extra long for the leveling up and the magic items and just chatting it up, which I did have, thankfully, the dialogue prep for Valin, which ended up being a pretty big discussion of very important plot points, which this was tricky because it's always awkward to have a NPC just give this big exposition info dump. And I pulled it back from what she knows and tells you all from the book even. It is so awkward in the book that this NPC just shows up out of the blue and tells you everything else, everything left in the campaign. She just tells you.
It's like in a movie or a TV show where the character starts talking and the camera pans out and it fades to a flashback or like a montage, and she just gives a 10-minute long
kind of
speech. In the third age.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, I don't want to do... first of all, I made the change, put Valin and Sunblight, which I think worked better, and it's always more interesting that way, and... I think that worked out well. And then I can't talk about a whole lot, but I made the Arcane Brotherhood a more integral part of this campaign, because I thought that was a very interesting angle.
Okay.
And instead of Valin knowing absolutely everything that's going on, she only knows the very beginning part of this investigation that she started.
Oh.
So that's the information you got, basically. You got the...
So you're waiting to dole out more information as we get farther along.
Right, and it's not even a question of that she's holding back. It's like, no, this is just as far as I got before I was captured.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you, here's the first step of this... what's going to become basically our next main quest chain, because obviously the Dwerger threat's basically done. You're just doing the dragon thing here.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, which I need to add that as an official quest, I guess, or maybe a rumor and lead, is to follow up on what she was talking about, because that is kind of where it's going. And this is what I talked about way back in the pre-campaign prep thing, which is you don't even know what the main quest is necessarily when you start this campaign. Unlike Tomb of Annihilation, where at the very beginning of the session it was like, hey, the death curse is happening and you guys got to go investigate that and figure out where it is. And it was a very simple main quest thing where it's just
we knew in Tomb we knew about the Lich immediately, didn't we? We knew about his existence anyway.
Yeah, that was a cutscene at the beginning. Yeah, you knew all that. Yeah, whereas this time it's really just, you go around 10 towns, you're helping people, and then there's the Dwerger thing becomes the main quest for a while, which is cool because it's got its own little, climax and everything. And then in the book, you just meet this NPC who's like, okay, here's the rest of the campaign. But here I'm like, no, we're going to turn this into a full-on, okay, you got to go through a quest chain of events that's going to dole out the information, and you're going to learn things, and we're going to introduce potential villains that I've mentioned in this backstory about Nas Lantamir and Valish Gaunt and all this interesting situations where, one of them is, when you're not sure what one of them is, the other one is presumably still at this prison, Revel's End. And then you've got this initial hook to go to Bryn Shander and investigate, which is you're getting this quest, but at the same time you've got this active threat of the dragon going around. So like any quests I give you, like even if Raymond, if you had finished unlocking Zahn's journal and gotten that next quest chain, you still get that quest, but like you're still actively dealing with this immediate threat. So I'm of course assuming you guys are still dealing with the active dragon threat, and then
dragon,
and then after that, which you also have that, I think you have the Dark Duchess quest too from Spellix, which is to go to the pirate ship treasure, I believe. We'd have to go over that one again. That was a couple sessions ago.
I forgot about that, but yes.
Yeah, okay, that's another. Yeah, we'll have to go over our side quests. But yeah, so obviously you've got the dragon is like your immediate threat. But yeah, so I'm giving you some quests doled out. There was an interesting. I guess I won't spoil too much of that, but I'll just tease the fact that I was going to have throw another quest at you that was going to deal with Celeste's story, but because refusing of the Mind Flayer, which I forgot to even mention what happens with it. I guess you don't really know. You never dealt with him, so he's just gone somewhere. And B, the fact she fucking died means that I'm putting that one on the back burner for now. And introduce it somewhere, which, thankfully it's a case where obviously a lot of these locations on the map you guys don't see. They're on the GM layer, and I can move them around as quickly and easily as I need. Like, it's really over here we need to go.
So what, I don't know if you can talk about it now because you're going to move it around, but is there any fallout to that Mind Flayer?
I guess it's up to me. I guess I can still choose if I want to make that a reoccurring thing, or...
We kind of forgot about him. We left. And
I talked about that in crafting, where that's one of those things where, whether it's a magic item or an NPC or something, as a DM, you're just kind of throwing darts at the board, seeing what sticks, and sometimes stuff works really well, and your players pick up on it, and they use it, or they interact with it a lot, again, whether it's a magic item or an NPC or a quest chain or some RP thing they do, or it gets forgotten about, put on the back burner, and it doesn't really become a big thing. And I feel like the Mind Flayer was the latter. It just kind of was introduced, and nobody really wanted to deal with it or, advance that story or anything. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to kind of back off on that. And I'll, I try to tease him a few times in like a next session, but then I was like, nobody's really wanting to engage. So
that's one of those interesting things where like you introduce a concept, but the player from the character standpoint does not want to engage.
Yeah.
They're just like, from my character does not.
You know what that reminded me of? I mentioned this in the crafting stream. I was talking about that. In Storm King's Thunder, you offered Kazan like some artifact that was from like the Kraken Society.
I remember.
And my character like smashed it on the ground or something. And that was supposed to be like a magic item for me.
Fucking shocked.
Yeah.
Man. I was like, holy shit, this is like his reward for the entire quest chain. And he just broke it.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, though. It's because, like, no, my character, like, as a player, obviously, I'm like, I should take this reward because it'd be a cool magic item. But as a character, I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Like, it's going to be tainted and all this shit. So yeah, I appreciate when somebody does it that way. And it's just like, all right, well, I have to, come up with another avenue to do that.
Yep.
Which that Mind Flayer is written in the story. So it's not like I just came up with that idea to have that thing in there. It's actually in there. I did come up with the idea to tie it more into obviously her whole situation, her backstory, but that is a character it's in Sunblight.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I mentioned with the dragon timing, hilariously, because I assumed whatever events you did in Dugan's Hole and Goodmead weren't going to take like hours and hours. Because it's a weird time distillation thing where once you're traveling, time is going very, very, very quickly, but when you're like walking through a town or even talking to people, like we're talking about minutes, not hours. So I literally had it planned where it's like, if you guys had arrived in Goodmead, basically the dragon was at East Haven at that point. Yeah. So, and it's there for a while. I won't reveal how long because you're still there, but it's by the time so in other words, if you guys had made it to Dugan's Hole and then gone to Goodmead and then gone to East Haven, you would have still basically reached the dragon. It probably would have been a little bit later at the point you're at now. So it didn't necessarily change my plans in terms of I calculated the math. I'm like, all right, if they're going straight to East Haven, the dragon is still going to be at East Haven because it's already gotten that far. Which, based on that time frame, you can calculate, oh shit, this thing is going pretty quick. But I will say, Dugan's Hole and Goodmead are relatively tiny towns. East Haven is not. East Haven is a pretty big sized area.
Yeah.
So it might obviously spend more time at those big towns versus the small ones.
Right.
But it is a construct, and it does not need to.
It's just gonna jet
it never stops. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see, how you guys respond to that.
I don't know how we're gonna fight it. To be honest, I was thinking about.
I've got plans for that, but
okay.
Yeah, which that's partly why I'm glad you guys at least went to East Haven first, and so I could do this. But yeah, I've got some cool plans for that. Because yeah, obviously,
I've read about this before, and I've never had the balls to do it, but I've read things about this where it's like, flying like a dragon or other flying creatures. Like, what is their best strategy?
Yeah, never land. You just fly.
Never land. Never come into contact with the enemy where they could attack you.
Yeah.
Just do your range shit from afar until they're dead. And just like, well, I get that. That makes the most sense, but that is not fun.
I'll say this: it depends because, and I talked about this in crafting. I pulled this off one time in Tomb of Annihilation. Spoiler for our Tomb of Annihilation campaign. When you guys were on the ship and you were making it around the coast towards the jungle, and and you guys were going to a mine that's a dragon had taken over, and that dragon came out, and we never even went into combat. That dragon just started breathing fire and basically doing what this one is now. We're just doing these strafing runs, and it just turned into this kind of disaster environmental hazard thing.
Yeah.
So that is one angle.
That is, but in that scenario though, you're not treating it like a combat encounter that they're going to win.
Correct.
You're treating it like a.
Correct.
Like a disaster.
So
like
foreshadow for potentially what you guys might be dealing with. I'm not going to stop if you guys try to do something, but if you don't see this thing landing, you might have a clue that like, oh shit,
right?
This is not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I will say the next suggestion will be, or the next thing I'll have to learn is if you guys are going to go to Bryn Shander after this, or try to continue, or try to follow the dragon's path. It sounds like you guys just try to go to Bryn Shander, which.
Yeah.
That information would help me plan. Although we may end up spending an entire session at East Haven, actually, now that I think about it.
Depends on what's happening in East Haven.
Yeah, I'll come up with more shit for you guys to do. Well, especially since we skipped Dugan's Hole and Goodmead.
Yeah.
I might have to expand on what I had planned for East Haven for sure. Anything else about this awkward session of mainly leveling up and getting story exposition and everything else?
I don't know if we're talking about the levels at all. The only really like outside the box one was Heather's.
Yeah,
going into
multi-classing
level of fighter, which was
she only told me that
surprising
tonight. Yeah, where she was like, I was thinking about multi-classing into fighter, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense because I don't think there's a whole lot of like level 20 barbarians, for example. Like fighter is just such a good dip for marshals.
Yeah,
because it front loads a lot of really good shit. I didn't know that they had those cool fighting styles with the combat maneuvers.
Tasha's, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of the new Tasha stuff.
Yeah, I know that either.
So that's pretty fun to take that as like a level 1. You become like it's like a soft multi-class into like the whatever the maneuver one is, Battle Master.
Yeah. It's interesting because it basically just like for a level you get like what it amounts to like kind of a class, not a class, a race ability. It's like you get one time per long rest like ability.
It's a short rest.
Oh, is it really?
I looked at it. It's actually you only have the one dice, but you get it back on a short rest.
Okay.
Same with second wind is obviously short rest based, so.
Yeah. So you get one short rest special attack that you can do.
Yeah.
So it's just like another special thing that you can do.
Yeah.
So she kind of just replaced that with what she would have got for Barbarian, which is another Rage.
The level her next path feature ability, which I thought was really cool, but is not necessarily combat related, which is that you choose every short rest to either gain like a super jump or breathing and swimming underwater or climbing and hanging on walls like Spider-Man. So you get a lot of these cool, kind of like what the Ranger got, but even like a better version of that because she's like literally can hang on walls and do all this. So it's kind of neat, but taking that.
It does sound like she made the right choice for her character.
Yeah,
her character is not the traversal character.
Right, it's very much like powerful combat.
Yeah,
battles. Yeah. And even just one fighter dip, I mean, that's pretty solid. So
yeah, exactly.
there are feats that do that. That's a good point. In fact, I've looked, the way they did feats is a lot of feats are like soft multi-classes. I mean, there's a feat, I think I did this with my Kenku character, is like you can gain spells. You can gain like one spell or something, like a first level spell just by taking a feat. So yeah, the way they do feats for a lot of them are like a soft multi-class. You don't have to necessarily multi-class, but you have to spend a feat to be able to get that ability.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think Battle Master's a really fun one, either the feat or the level 1 fighter dip, or even going to 3, just to get those extra maneuvers and things you can do during combat, rather than just like, I swing my weapon.
Yep. I mean, the big one for fighter is if she goes one more. Right? Because one more
Action Surge.
Action Surge, which is a huge fucking thing. That's why with my first character, with Kalinar, that's why I went fighter with him. Is because like I had like I don't know how many paladin levels, but then you get action surge. It's like oh wait, I get two fucking actions, and suddenly a big.
That's real good. Yeah, it's real good. Yeah, that initial fighter, and you guys like I go to 3rd level and I get my subclass of fighter. It's just yeah, pretty good. Yeah, Artificer level 6 sounds cool. You can make like actual cool like magic items now with a fucking homunculus and stuff.
Yeah,
seems pretty neat.
And you immediately used it to send a warning message.
So that's a big deal. I'm gonna have to track and see. Somehow try to calculate how much distance this thing can make and what kind of.
I mean, I don't know what is okay. Let's do the math. Well, I'm not gonna do the math.
I'm not gonna try to do the math, but hopefully somebody will help figure it out.
30 feet every 6 seconds. Because 30 feet in a turn.
Can it dash?
I mean, I guess if it spends its entire time dashing, I suppose it could.
I mean, I would have to use the bonus action to give it an action.
Oh, okay. So otherwise, it's just
dash.
It just has its movement then.
So how many seconds are there in an hour?
What is that?
Jesus Christ.
There's 60 seconds in a minute.
I'm sure if you Google search it, you can figure out how far can somebody in whatever at 30s speed.
So 30 times 10 would be how far it can go in a minute. So it can go 300 feet in a minute. Times 60, which is how many minutes there are in an hour, it can go 18,000 feet.
18,000? I think 1,800. 18,000?
30. No, yeah, 300 times 60.
300 times 60
is 18,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, but how many miles is that? That's
over. How many feet are in a mile? I'll divide it.
180? Is that the number?
Feet
I feel like I should know this.
There are 5,220. I would never.
It's funny as I've got an almost 5th grader, so you'd think I would know a lot of this like fact shit, but it's just random information I have.
So divided by 5,220 feet in a mile, it is going.
This is the best Frostside chat ever.
It is going 3.4 miles per hour.
Ha! Wow, that's impressive. So about as fast as you guys. A little bit faster, I guess.
That's how fast 30 feet up per round.
Assuming it never slows down, never stops, never changes course, all that.
Right, and he can go straight, like he can fly. So
right, obviously it can go over terrain. Yeah, so not impeded by terrain, but possibly impeded by weather. Interesting. All right, well that's
you haven't told us what the dragon's move speed or fly speed is.
No, I have not. I will say it is much better than 30 feet.
But the fucking jet engine that you described is...
Yeah, when I saw that speed, I was like, "Oh shit!" Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the important thing to realize. It's not a living creature.
The Bryn Shander is like the end of its path. So presumably, at least the homunculus will get there in some.
That's the cool information you guys have. Yeah, like, okay, we're at East Haven, but even when it leaves East Haven, it's not going to Bryn Shander. You know that it's going up to Caer Dineval, Caer Konig, going all the way over to Tourmaline. Like, it's going to go all around here. So yeah, if it leaves and you guys go to Bryn Shander, even though it takes you, a couple hours to get there, I'm I'm 90% sure, I'd have to check my notes again, that you guys would be able to reach before. So you guys would actually have a chance at pre-dragon adventures at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what we thought we were gonna get here at East Haven.
Right.
We thought we're gonna be able to like show up and like prepare for the dragon's arrival.
Yeah. So the idea is I wanted to, you know, there's enough content here. I was like, okay, I can have some post-dragon stuff and then some current dragon stuff.
Yeah.
With the assumption that you guys will probably do a big final thing in Bryn Shander, and then maybe even some pre-dragon stuff if you guys choose to go to Bryn Shander, you know, and not follow the dragon around. But the only thing is now you guys basically skipped the post-dragon stuff because skipping Dugan Soul and Goodmead. Unless for some reason you guys decide to chase after the dragon, in which case you'll probably I mean, I don't think you'll ever be able to catch it.
Yeah, it depends on what we see in terms of how fast the dragon goes, all that. But
yeah,
we could probably put two and two together and figure out that, like, hey, this thing's gonna just jet engine away and laser the next town.
Yeah, it's a challenging thing. I've got some fun ideas for it that are very much not in the book. This is an entire chapter. It's only like 10 pages long, and most of it is like, here's exactly what the dragon does and all that. So
yeah,
I'm going to add in some more interesting things that are going to happen that you guys can deal with and interact with. Anything else about this session?
I'll say it's a tough situation for players because it even though you didn't think we would, you know, do that, it is a situation where you're immediately faced with the, hey, people are gonna die, so we have to like make like cut our losses decisions, you know, like pretty quickly. Yeah, and I think we got to that faster than you thought we were gonna get to that, but we got to that really quick. It's like, hey, people are gonna die. This is just.
I should have presumed. I was like, oh, I know who my players are.
Yeah.
I remember crafting. I was thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a good chance for them to be heroes. They're gonna try to save people because a lot of D&D is just going through dungeons and fighting monsters and hack and slash and getting loot, which is all fun. I enjoy that too. Yeah. But I do like the chance when you can actually, you know, be heroes and save people and do like feats of heroism. And this whole chapter is a good chance for that. And then your first decision is like, all right, fuck those two towns. They're gone.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that it was just sort of like pushing ahead that decision point, because from what I'm understanding, we're going to have to make that same kind of decision shortly here of like, oh, the cities ahead of wherever we're at, East Haven, we're gonna have to say, oh, they're fucked. We got to move on.
Right.
We just got there faster than he thought we would get there.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. That's another decision you'll have to make. And I'll prep for that at least. So that way you guys have the options of, okay, do we want to chase after it? So I need to prep that information, or do you want to just go straight to Bryn Shander? Either way, we could easily spend probably a whole session in East Haven. So that's mainly what I'll obviously be working on prepping.
Yeah, just look at making East Haven.
If we go next week, like I said, if we can get maybe a one shot organized or something, we could do that.
I'm all for Heather doing another one shot. I'd be fascinated to see what her one shots. You know, what her one shots look like. We've only had the one, so yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, so I'll ask and see, just because we know that we're gonna be down 2 players for next week, and we have that kind of forewarning. We can start maybe doing something else.
Yeah.
All right, I think that, and I'll give everybody heads up on that as soon as possible, because obviously I wouldn't want to be able to prep that if that's gonna happen. So that will do it for this week's Frostside chat. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. I'm Eric. Thank you to all you wonderful fans for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.